This is Make and Watch. I'm Tommy Skaggs. Today's review is the movie Target, a 2018 Indonesian thriller comedy. The premise of this movie is kind of interesting. It starts off with 9 different Indonesian celebrities that are selected to be part of another movie called Target. And they all sign up, they show up, and it turns out that it's a scary movie that people actually start dying. So they're trapped in a building and they have to get out. So this is what I saw in this movie. I saw this movie structured into 4 distinct parts. They had the gathering and introduction. Then they had the Saw kind of movie. The third, they turn against each other. And fourth is the big twist. In the first part of the movie, the introduction, the characters are just introduced, they start meeting each other, and they start their dialogue between each other. They start showing the type of rapport that they have between each other. The second part of the movie feels just like Saw. They're trapped in a dank old building with no exits. They can't get out, and they're forced to do different games. But unlike Saw, where the games or the traps themselves actually feel like the character unto themselves, these games involve guns and trap doors. So it's kind of, that part seems kind of flat, and they could have worked a little bit more on that. Once they kind of transition out of that part of the movie, they turn into a part of the movie where there's just a lot of infighting. They're still trapped inside this building, but they're fighting against each other. And they keep going into this part. This is where a lot of the comedy comes out. There's some really funny fight scenes. So this part goes on for a while. There's some really interesting special effects in this third part of the movie. And once they transition out of this part of the movie, they get to the twist. And so this part of the movie goes on for a little longer than expected, but they really wanted to lay down how this twist works. Honestly, the movie could have probably ended at the end of the third part and been just fine, but the twist kind of introduced some interesting elements. So if you're going to watch it again, you would watch it a little bit differently, kind of like an M. Night Shyamalan movie a little bit. So now I want to talk about some of the things that I thought were cool, some of the things that I thought were bad, and an interesting fact. So cool. The location was awesome. It was a broken down hospital or some sort of asylum or some sort of industrial building, and it felt really real. It felt cold. It was dark. Whoever did the set design for it did a really good job. It wasn't totally abandoned. Like, it wasn't, there was still files and paper and things to be seen and to go through. So that made things kind of interesting when they were going room to room. I could tell that some of the shots were on a sound stage, but for the most part, it felt really real, and I really like the scenery here. The second thing that I really liked about this movie was the characters. They all brought something interesting to the table. There wasn't a lot of character development, but they were really funny, and it was really interesting to see how all of the characters interacted with each other. So I really liked that. Now, on to the bad parts. Even though I love funny stuff, it almost felt like some of the things were almost too silly. Like, it was just kind of brought you out of this world that's supposed to be kind of scary because it was just a little too silly. Like, the other thing that it tried to do is I felt like it tried to be more than it was. There was a comedy thriller, and there was also an overlaid love interest story that was on the top of it as well. So there was a lot going on in the movie. So it was, some of that fell flat. They weren't able to dive as deep into some of the areas. All right, on to the interesting fact. All of the character names in this movie are actually the real actors' names as well. So this kind of leads me to believe that the people in this movie are actually Indonesian YouTube stars, comedians, action movie stars, and other people who are in film and would be recognizable in an Indonesian market. I looked up the lead character named Raditya Dika. He wrote, directed, and starred in this movie, and he's a very connected person. A lot of people on social media are connected with him. He's done a few movies as well, and he does a lot of promotion with companies in Indonesia. So, it leads me to believe that these people in this movie weren't just playing YouTube stars, that they are internet stars as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Overall, I would say take or leave this movie. It's overall has some pretty poor reviews across the board, but there are elements that are interesting. It has the twist at the end, even though it was a little long. It was kind of interesting. It's something that we've seen before. It wasn't really an open shut case, but yeah, if you're into kind of like a Saw movie, but maybe not so much the blood and gore, this may be something for you. It may be Saw light with a twist of humor. So that's the review for Target here on Make and Watch. I hope you have a great day. Take care.